Hey guys, so this is Menos, and we're going to do something a little different today. So I have been asked if I would do a YouTube thumbnail kind of tutorial, and I thought, why not? So let's jump right into it, and if we go into here and we create new, let's just do, because I'm going to be doing episode 3 is my thumbnail, so you can name it. The YouTube specifications for width and height are 1280 by 760, and the resolution can be 72. The resolution, it can be higher, but let's just go with 72. It's a default. It's a very low setting. It's a very low resolution. I get that, you know, some people are going to probably have a problem with it, but for all intents and purposes, guys, this is a thumbnail. Okay, we'll be fine. So 72 DPI, our resolution, we're good. All right, so now we have a place to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab from my screenshot folder. Okay, I'm going to grab a picture, drag it over here, and put it up into this layer. You got to put it in this little bar up here. Okay, and so this is kind of a Photoshop tutorial. At the same time, it's a thumbnail tutorial. So it's a little dark, but that's, you know, in the Minecraft setting, when you're in the Nether, it's going to be kind of dark. So this is from my Ripple Effect server, Minecraft server that I'm on, and this is going to be the thumbnail for my 3rd episode. Okay, so what I need to do is possibly lighten this up. So let's do some on-screen tweaks. We'll do auto contrast. Auto color is probably gonna be too much. Nope. All right. Let's do. I actually want to play with the levels. So if we go to, where are our levels? I always just hit Control L. So that's one of those that I have to look for it real quick. Right there. Okay. Now, levels are shades, midtones, and highlights. Okay, so when you do this, brings up your highlights. Okay, so we don't want to go too far because then that would just kind of take away from the Nether setting. So if we just do this, that'll look decent. So you guys can actually see it on YouTube. So this will look nice. Now, this is just me editing the picture, but we still have to bring it over into our area and into our thumbnail area. So using, oh yes, I know, if you use the move tool, which is this little guy right here, or if you hit V, okay, so if I was on, like, this is the eraser tool, but if I hit V, or this guy here, you can click it, click, hold, drag, and you come up to here and drop. Okay, now this is a little large, so what we're going to do is we're going to edit this layer. So you'll see layer, okay, we're going to be using a lot of layers. So we go down to the free transform tool, and you'll see we can grab the corner and we can make a very tall pigman. No, we don't want to do that. Okay, so if you hold shift, it'll make a fixed ratio. All right, so we'll do this, and you know, that's a very nice looking pigman we got there. And once you've kind of got the right setting where you want to place it, then all you got to do is just hit, you can either hit enter, or either on your regular keyboard or next to your numeric keys. And now you're done with this file right here. So you can just hit no, call it good. Now it's always good to save your work as you go. So if I come up here to my Mr. Craft folder, I'm going to save this as a, so I already have thumbnails is the thing. Okay, I already have a thumbnail, but since I want to do episode 3 PSD, which is a Photoshop file, I'll just go ahead and hit save. All right, so we're going to save it. Now, next step is you want to do lettering. Okay, so the thing about doing letters is you want to make sure that it fits the format. You want to have a good grid space. So like here we have, let me go ahead and grab my selection tool. I'm going to show you guys. No, that is not the right one. So, stop it. Shift M will go between the different selections. And so we have a rectangle now. So I want to show you, if I go kind of halfway here, you guys can see that on one side I have my pigman, and on the other side we just have a random selection, right? So the reason I put him over here is because I have all of this area here to put text in, alright? So my text that I use is, or I say the ripple, and then I'll come down, effect. Okay, now this doesn't look good, now does it? Nope, not at all. Alright, so let me go and find the text that I use. And you can just play with all the kind of different things. But first things first. Obviously you can't see it. You can't even be bothered to go and change the font until you change your color. So let's change the color, and now we can play either here, or if you go up into window, you can grab your character, alright, and you can play with the characters here, like so. Oh, look at that pretty star. And you can just use the move tool. Again, it's V to move it around, T to kind of go back in there, and you can't hit enter on your keyboard. You have to hit enter next to the numpad, okay? And that'll actually close out of the text box. Alright, so one moment, let me open up the thumbnail that I've already used previously. So if I were to open up that same thumbnail that I was showing you before, this is the same thumbnail that I've been using, the Photoshop file that I've been using on my previous ones. So when you get a template, okay, best thing you could do is make yourself a template. You'll actually see that if I come down here and I remove, let's see, where is it at? This guy here, and there's the one for the ripple effect episode 1, right? All I did was I changed this right here. I just went in here and changed it from a 1 to a 2, okay? So you can easily, once you get a template down, you can also grab the font, which if you grab this layer here, you can grab it and you can just drag it, the same thing, bring it over like that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete this layer here like this. Now, the colors will not work for this this picture, or yeah, for the background here. So we're gonna do some extra stuff. Like there's a outline to Menos here, and if you look at the slime, let's put those pictures back. That looks a little weird. There's an outline here. How do we achieve the outlines, and how do we achieve the texture and the look and feel of the lettering, the text? And this little guy right here is just a graphic. It's a PNG. So if you just bring in a PNG file, which again, I have this little thing right here. This is a logo that I made for the Ripple Effect server. I'm gonna move it over to here. PNG is a image file format that when saved, oh, we don't want to do that. So that is a placement. You don't really want to do placement. You actually want to open the file here, do the same drag and drop like we've done previously, and now we get the full file. Now PNG is if you have no background to your layer. So if I were to remove this, there's no background to this layer. So if you have no background to your layer, if I were to save this right now as a PNG, I could place this on anything I want and we'd call it good. Alright, let's bring that back. So this guy here, we're just going to shrink it down like so and put it right there. Just a nice little logo. Okay, oop. Put that right there and hit enter and call it good. So let's tackle the font. Okay, so the font is, I'm going to double click. Well, first of all, let's talk about how we have the font set up. You can see that the sits a little bit higher than Ripple. Okay, what's happening is I have set, if I use my keypad, Okay, you can hear me tapping the arrow keys. So if you look in the character window over here, okay, this says 40. But if I come over here, 0. But if I go up, 0, 0, and then minus 60 all of a sudden, okay, and then these are 40. This here delineates the kerneling, or I guess it says set the tracking, okay, of how close it is between them. All right, so it's actually trying to pull it together. Now I'm going to be saying all right and a lot, okay? That's just how I talk when I'm thinking, and I apologize for that. Now the same thing here with this 172 is the distance between the layers of the text. So 172 between the two here, and if you come over here, it's still 172. The only reason that this is higher is this down here, which is the kind of the superscript, the baseline shift, okay? So it just brings it up 51. And I set it up a little bit higher just to kind of set it aside because ripple effect is the name of the server and the is just an article, you know, before it. So you can say ripple effect or the ripple effect. And I'm probably going on a little bit too much about the text, but you know, it's kind of those key things that you need to think about when you're putting text on your thumbnail. So again, you know, layout, you know, I could very easily have just put, if I take that out, ripple effect, but you know, I don't know, it just kind of sits there. But if I have that hanging right there, then it kind of brings this whole thing together. It actually merges the picture. It makes it flow a little bit better. So now we're going to come back and talk about the effects, okay? And all you have to do is, if you don't have anything already on it, you just left click, you double left click in this side area. Same thing goes for here. You want to make sure that you double click over here, because if you double click where the text is, you'll go to rename it. So double click here, and there are 3 options for this, and you can actually see them here: stroke, gradient, overlay, and drop shadow. Okay, so the drop shadow is very, very minimal. Okay, you can actually kind of see it here with this E on the, okay, and barely right there with the P on this ripple. Okay. And the point of the drop shadow is just to kind of help it make it pop up off of the thumbnail to help it differentiate between the layers, so that you've got an image and you've got text. You don't want them to blend into each other, so you want to separate the two of them. So this will help it be 2 separate pieces saying here's the text, here's the image. And all I'm using is just a dark shadow. Multiply is lighter colors get removed, such as white is completely removed. So any of the lighter highlights are slowly removed, but any darker shades, especially black, stays in there. And that's just a blending mode. And you got distance, you've got, so like that moves it out really far. And anytime you make an edit like this and you don't like it, you can always hit cancel. Okay, so we're going to come back up here. Gradient overlay talks about how, like right now, I have a 90-degree angle that is up and down. You'll see that it's darker down here, lighter up here, and that's because this 90-degree is using this black and this white to make a gradient of black to white on blue text. Okay, and so what we can look at is, if we take this off, you'll see the blue text. And what we can easily do is change that color here in a second, but leave this gradient so that it just stays affecting the it's just an overlay. It just affects the gradient. That doesn't actually affect the color itself. Okay, so you're not actually changing the text color itself. When you do this, you're just putting an overlay on it, and I'm using a linear dodge to make it really bright, whether it's light or dark. Okay. And the thing about strokes is you can actually add multiple strokes. If I were to do this and change the color, okay, so you can actually have one that's set to 16, and if this was just set to 7, no, stop it. If I was set to 17, you'll see that it has a very minimal, a 1 pixel wide pixel of stroke around it. And that's just because if I take this off, you'll see that that's a 17 stroke, but that's a 16 stroke. So whichever one you have first is the one that's going to go first, okay? And then to remove it, you can just grab it, delete it, okay? All right, so let's talk about the color of the text. Now, I haven't done any changes to it, anything dramatic, but I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel because I don't want to change anything. Now, I don't want to use blue for the text on this one because it just doesn't fit the theme, doesn't fit the image very well, and we'll probably come back with the purple as well. So the first thing I would do, and I'm on this layer, you got to make sure that you're on the layer, is you're going to change the color. Okay, you can either do it here. Yeah, you're going to have to do it here. I was going to say that you can do it over here, but it's best instead of trying to highlight all of the text and then do it here by your swatches or your color, it's better if you just choose here. All right, so you can actually choose using your dropper tool. You can kind of pick the colors via here, and that's kind of neat to kind of choose the lava color. Let's go orange, and you got to remember this is going to be seen smaller, so if you pull back like so, the purple doesn't hurt it because you're going to be so far back that the purple actually kind of helps make it pop a little bit. And that's just something that you have to understand, that just because the color doesn't make sense doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. Okay, if you put red next to blue just to make the blue stand out more, then what gradient of the red do you need to put? Or in this case, this purple, is it the right choice? I don't know if it's dark enough, but at the same time, the smaller we get when it's seen on the screen, it's still probably not the best choice, but at the same time, if you look, it helps it pop up off the screen, doesn't it? So we're going to use that orange. So, okay, gotta understand, a lot of this is just trial and error, so it doesn't always come fluidly when you're doing it, but, it's just trying to see what comes naturally, right? So, if we wanted to change that purple, though, all we have to do is we can actually left click right next to the stroke, like so. And we can just kind of select it like this. And if we wanted to keep the purple, what we could probably do is just, this right here is your hex code, and we can copy that. So just select it, hit Control C before we do anything, and say we choose, actually let's go crazy, let's go green, okay? Just to see what it looks like. So, see, too much, okay? Bright green's too much, but what if we went dark green? Okay, if we did dark green, now green and red are opposites, so they help to kind of, oh, there we go, see? That kind of helps. But it's the same as the purple. And if we use our histogram, or our history, not the histogram, that's a different tool. If we go to our history, if we were to go to that, we can see which one do we like more. I'm gonna keep the purple for now. And so what we can do now is we can come back over to our thumbnail here, and we'll grab our 2. Let's grab our 2, plop it right there. All right, and then we'll change this to a 3, like so. Check, good. Now the same thing about this color here. We'll have to select this layer, hold T, or tap T. So you have to make sure that when you go to that layer, you want to look at this color here. We'll just copy, say OK. We'll come up here, go to this, and then we'll hit paste because we're already inside that. Call it good and see what that looks like. Very nice. Now, at this size, there are two things that we see very you know, very clearly in this picture. We actually see the text and we see the lava down here. So what do we need to do? We need to edit him. First of all, is we need to actually make him pop off the screen. So suggestion would be to first get rid of those layers by just clicking the eyes, and the eyes will just hide those layers. Okay. Now this is going back to how did I make the little outline. This is a fairly simple tool, and this is going to be a little bit harder because of the jagged sword, but all you have to do is you'll come to paths and you'll make a new path. Okay, so path, and we come over to, actually we won't even use path right now. Okay, we want to use the lasso tool. And we want to make sure that we have it as the polygonal lasso tool, not the lasso tool or not the magnetic one, but the polygonal lasso tool. And to easily do that is if you hit Shift L, okay, until it looks like a little crown almost. Okay, and you can also hold Z, Z tap or Alt tap for Z will allow you to come in and out. So what we want to do, and spacebar and drag allows you to move around the screen. What we want to do is we want to select this guy, and that's what the lasso tool does. So let's come up here, and if you hit the spacebar, it doesn't actually remove the tool that you're holding. So we're going to come here. Okay, so in comparison to that slime, this is a little bit more difficult because of this guy right here, this sword. Now, if you look very closely, right here, you'll see that we have a bit of netherrack coming through. So a bit of this background is peeking through between the sword and this pigman. So to get rid of it, if we use the same tool, the lasso tool, and if we hold Alt, okay, hold Alt, and we just do the same thing, and then you wait till you have that little O or that 0 circle. Okay, we've now deselected that area. So now we have this whole guy selected. We're going to come back to our layers, make sure we're on the same layer here, and if we hit Control J, we now have a new layer with just the pigman. Okay, now that doesn't remove him from the previous layer, and you can also just hit I believe it's you can just say duplicate layer, but it's easier if you just say a brand new layer, because that's what Control J does, is new layer. So now we have this guy to play with. How do we affect this guy? Pretty much the same way if we were to take this right here and say copy layer style, just for giggles, and we say paste layer style, and what's happening is I'm hitting right click on it and then I'm pasting it. Okay, and that is not the right kind that we want, so we're just going to go like that. Now if we come back over here, this guy here, and I will show you guys how to set this up properly. I'm just trying to show you what I have momentarily at the moment, like so. Okay, so I like how the border works, but I don't like what just happened with him. Okay, so that is because it is set to linear light, and we can even leave it like that with this nice border. So how do you get the border? Again, this is just a border, right? To do that, so let's take a look, and you'll see that we have that stroke, that same stroke that we did before, and then we have an 11 and we have a 16. The 16 is this one right here. It actually goes all the way out from here to here, so 16. And then we have this 11 that just goes from here to here. And the 11 is set to a soft light, but the 16 is set to an exclusion. So between the two of them, we get this really nice kind of negative, almost a negative kind of around him. But this gives him a nice border to kind of make him pop out. Okay. And to do that, if we were to just remove clear layer styles, what we have to do is we would just left click, we would hit stroke, okay? Yeah, we don't like that. So we're gonna say soft light, okay? And we can just do a kind of a grayish tone. And you can see already, we kind of like that. And then we do another layer. This one, we're gonna go up to, actually, this one will stay 16. Let's go ahead and go down to exclusion with this one. We'll come back to this one, drop this down to an 11. All right. Now, did you see how quickly that changed that little border right there? That's all we had to do. That's it. Okay. Now, once we've got that set up, we can bring in our text and our logo, and all of a sudden, he's somewhat popping out. I say somewhat because we still have this background. Now, we want to keep it in focus. So if we ever have this pretty big like this, we still have this stark contrast back here. But we have this guy, right? So what can we do to this layer, this background layer? Well, we can add a gradient, right? So the thing with the gradients is that you can actually come in here. Actually, no, not that one. We do want to do a gradient layer, and we want to choose, let's just choose a random one of these first. All right, and we'll go with this one because this is actually the same kind that I've been using on my previous ones. And this is when you play with the blend mode. Okay, and you kind of want to go a little bit darker, but more towards this bottom area. Blah, blah, blah. So first things first, let's change our color. Now we got to get here. All I did was I clicked on this. All right, you can just click on the arrow. You can click on the inside. If you click on the inside, you get this full thing. So if you click here on this tab, if you click on the inside, does that. Click up in here, you get the actual color. So, but if you click this, if you drag away, you lose it. But if you just click this, now we can change our color. All right, so if we want to go more green, okay, got this really weird green tone on that sandstone, which is kind of neat. And then we want to come over here, and this one's going to be more of a bluish tint. Okay, I'm just trying to show you guys it's not a final product here. Okay, now this is currently set for green and light blue. So if we wanted to do this, where we had, you can kind of play with that, and now we have it set for overlay. All right, now if we just did normal, you can see that we have green here, light blue here, but if we hit reverse, switches it. All right, so let's actually go down our list here. Nope. All right, and you can see none of those really work, and that's just because of the color. But I do want to do a darker tone here and a lighter tone up here. So let's go ahead and take that here, and we'll go ahead and switch this to the 120 on this side. All right, that way we know via this, the darker tone is on this side. So we'll come back over here, and we'll do a dark bluish purple, like so. And this side over here will be a yellow. And it doesn't have to be such a stark yellow. Again, this purple here can be more like that. Okay, it's very similar to this purple and orange that we had up here, but this is more like a purple green. And then when we go down through like this, so if we had multiply and we just kind of toned it down a little bit, let's go back to overlay. Nope. So it's just a lot of playing around, trying to see what works best for you. Okay, so these are just the tricks and tips that I've got to show you guys. And so I kind of like that one, but what if we turned it like that? I want to see real quick. So he's not popping out very much. So what we can do is lighten him up. So if we were to keep that as a background, like so, what we can do, because I kind of like that as a background. It's very nice, light, vibrant, but we want him to kind of stick out a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and copy this layer again, just Control J again. And this time we can probably, if we hit screen on him, so you'll see screen just lightens it up. So it's the same layer, screen lightens it up a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the strokes on this one to be slightly darker. And we'll change it to go with an overlay. Okay. Let's go full black. Does that help any? No. Alright. So I'm just going to play with this a little bit more. You guys can see that you know, this is the type of stuff that I do on mine. Hopefully it helps you guys with yours. And this is just the method that I use. It's not set in stone. It's not the best way to do it. I hope you guys like it. This may not even be the finished product for mine, but when it comes to actually making your thumbnail, you know, the best thing I can say is think about your placement for your images. So where your kind of layout is for your center of attention, where you want to like draw the viewer's attention to. Where you're wanting to put the text, again, you're going to have to think of the layout. You know, I still have this giant spot down here that's not very pretty. You're going to have to think about the font you're using. Because, you know, do you want to use a bland font? Do you want to use a big font? How does your font work in the space itself when it gets smaller? Is it less legible? So those are the kinds of things that I am suggesting. Hopefully this didn't get too long. It didn't drone on, so I apologize if none of this makes sense to any of you. If you have questions, please leave a comment. And yeah, I hope you guys like it. Hope you enjoy it. And I'll catch you guys in one of my other videos. And if you like this type of video, let me know. And I'll catch you guys next time. So later, peeps.